Hi everyone, Robin here from Gardening with Mama Bird. I hope you're having a great day. It's Labor Day weekend, and I started my weekend off with just a great time. I went out to dinner with a former student and his mother, and we had a great time talking. And I loved hearing about how his school year has started off, and it just warmed my heart. So I'm happy to see him doing so well. Then we woke up to a morning of rain, which was also very pleasant, and we've had overcast skies all day. So it's going to give me a chance, I think, this weekend to get in the garden more. But for today, I wanted to show you a garden tour to start off the month of September, our Labor Day weekend. So let's get started. I thought I'd start my tour out here where I added my new path, which I am thoroughly enjoying, and bring you over this way. I've showed you a little bit of this area, but not in great length. Things are filling in over here, but there are also some things that have taken a little turn from the heat, and it has been difficult on some of my plants. This little verbena I put in here, and I'm surprised it made it, but it's grown probably 4 times the size of when I planted it. I still have a pretty big space in here to figure out what I want to do next. The hummingbirds are loving the little feeder that I put under here. It's small and it glows in the dark at night. This area over here is my bird bath. I have some Hanacloa gold, which I need to add a few drip lines to. I have a new one I planted in the back. It's had a little bit more of a hard time in the heat. And along here, since I didn't know quite yet what I wanted to plant, I put zinnias all the way down. And those are about ready to come out. As you can see, they are pretty crispy in some areas. Early on, earlier than normal, the zinnias got powdery mildew. And I decided that it was too much to treat this year, so I've kind of just let it go and picked a few of the flowers out. I planted a mixed variety. This one was interesting. It's a cactus zinnia. It's kind of fluffy. And a few other ones that I've planted before. Here's one that really pretty orange color, great for fall. But as you can see, they are looking quite worn. So those are going to be coming out this weekend, since I have a 3-day weekend to clean up this area. I will probably make a little vase of flowers if I can find enough good ones to build a vase. Looks like a lot of the ones that are orange are the ones that I'll probably be able to cut off and make a little vase of flowers for the inside of the house. This little area over here has currently been one of my favorite. I just love the colors, the light greens and the dark greens. And around the corner I have some pops of pinks. Someone did ask about the Peruvian lily. This one receives afternoon shade, and it's not at its peak of performance right now. It's starting to die out a little bit, and you can see the flowers are fading. Soon those will dry up a little bit and I'll pull them out. We'll have a little bare spot for a while, and then some new growth will come through. On the side of that, recently I planted the begonias, which I am really loving the color. They have been super low maintenance and very pretty. So those I will repeat. I'll probably be adding some other in another area as well. And down the path I have the hosta, which have been a pollinator magnet this year. The blooms on that's why I have still left the blooms on there and I haven't trimmed them off. Over here, the dianthus that I planted about a month ago, those are starting to fill in, and I really love how they're popping through the Artemisia, I believe is what it's called. the more silver blue color of plant. Back behind that, the nandinas are starting to change their color for the season. They'll lighten up and then they'll fade into pinks and reds. Back behind that, I have my vine, which has put on a tremendous amount of growth, and I need to go through and trim it up. And I also need to make sure none of the vines are intertwining with the Japanese maple. I have a little friend in there peeking at me, enjoying his little sugar water. Can you see his little head popping up, checking on me? Okay, I lost my train of thought here. I got a little sidetracked by the hummingbirds. I just love them so much. Okay, so we're gonna go back down the path here, and I'm going to go back out front and move up the sidewalk and show you how things are growing out here. I planted vincas to fill in. Those have filled in quite nicely. I think that's as large as they're gonna get. They will probably reseed, and I will have lots of vincas next year. It seems like the white ones do the most of the reseeding than any of the other colors I've planted. The feverfew I was going to take out earlier, but I didn't. I think I'm going to be taking that out this weekend. And I don't know about you guys, but the sedum in my area that I planted here, I don't get much of this pink color for very long. It always browns up quickly in zone 9B. I don't know if you have that same situation where you are, because many of the videos I see people doing, theirs are always a beautiful pink color. I don't tend to get that. The gomphrena over here next to the boxwood, it's going to stay. I'm still enjoying that fluffy Lorax look. So I'm going to leave those in there. But I am still loving all the color that this provides, and this will be a repeat for next year. Over here, the pelargonian, it's doing well. It's going to start putting out blooms, so it does need some pruning to help support that. My yarrow over here is filling in. It filled out nicely, and then during the heat it got flopped over, so I trimmed it all the way back and bought this support, which I need to get one more to put over in this area, so as it gets taller, the blooms and the foliage do not flop over. This summer I planted my jacaranda. It is still doing well. Below that I wasn't sure what to put, so I went and got a potato vine, and that's just one potato vine plant, and I've had to do some pruning on it to keep it tamed a little bit, but I really am enjoying the pop of color that it has underneath the jacaranda tree. I also planted the vinca, which I shared in another video. They were 1 gallon pots, and they had 3 plants per pot, and I broke those apart. And I planted them when it was over 100 degrees, and I had to nurse them with umbrellas for probably about a week, and they all survived, so that's made me happy. And I have this, I'm gonna draw a blank now, I'll have to put it on the screen, that I planted from seed, and they finally, a few of them didn't take in here, but over here they really filled in. Oh, it's a Dusty Miller, New Age Dusty Miller. And I love the contrast of this silver tone with the different purples. That bright green with the purples. And then I bought another one back here because it was an open space that I still wanted to fill in with the bright pop of color. And that one's doing well. In this area, I still have my open beds to the right where I extended my flower beds with the no-dig method using cardboard, where I cut the lawn as short as I could get it, wet it down, put cardboard over it, and then put soil and mulch over it to extend my flower bed so I would have more planting area. And I did that in early spring, and so it's doing well. The cardboard is breaking down and I'm able to dig through it now and plant, so I can come up with some ideas for this area of the garden. Over here is another Peruvian lily. Oh, I should mention, someone asked, my front yard is north facing, and towards the sidewalk right there, it's the west of my house. So this area gets a lot of hot sun, and I have several of the same color Peruvian lilies down in here that I planted newly this year. As you can see right there, there's one right there. They struggle a little bit. That one has been in the ground for 2 years, I believe. And it has some times when it's just absolutely gorgeous, and then it'll fade out, and these are blooms that are spent. So this will eventually like dry up and you can just pull it out, and then it will push out new shoots and then blossom. The one thing I have been doing this year, which I've never done before, is giving it chelated iron to help keep them green, and it seems to keep the foliage happier and healthier looking. And I have my lamb's ear and my echinacea, my coneflower. Those have been in the ground a few years. They're starting to die out for the season. We only have, 3.5 weeks left, I think, and then we're into fall. My bee balm is starting to push out some blooms, and it's getting some insects again, so that needs to be treated to keep that back. My fringe flower is also pushing out some blooms. This has only been in the ground maybe a month, but I really like the color of those little flowers that it will be having all over it. The first little blooms were some shoots that came out at the base there. The snapdragons that are being eaten by caterpillars, those were in the ground last year, and those will probably come out, and I'm going to plan for something else in this area. And the alyssum, it needs some trimming as well. Here is the white yellow Peruvian lily, and this is what I mean by dying out. There's some branches back there that are yellow, so you can just pull those out. This one will be done for a while, and you'll have this bare spot. So if you don't mind that in your garden for a short time, it's a beautiful flower to have. This area, everything has been growing nicely. I recently had to treat for earwigs. Not too bad with the slugs, but this area of lamium is really filling in, and I like the contrast of color here. When I have my hydrangea, it's pushing out some new leaves. I don't know if it's going to give me any more blooms. And the Hanakloa Gold behind it. I have really had fun coming out and watching the frogs take part in swimming in that little bird bath. Back behind here, my hosta are doing well. This is probably the 3rd year for these ferns, and they are filling in really well. So this is one of those, they say the 3rd year is like the year they leap, and these are taking off. I'm really enjoying that. The hydrangea tree is doing well. And then if we come around here, this area has filled in well too. The impatiens have gotten taller than I thought they would get. I bought the shorter ones, but they must really like this little area, so they're tall back here. And these little flowers, I don't recall the name of them. They have a tubular look and they look like a little orchid. Those have been fun, have gotten quite tall and have rebloomed. I do have to come in here every now and then and trim on the evergreen fern. As you can see right here, some of the branches are so tall that they're hiding my heuchera in there and my little button fern, which I really like. And interesting enough, here you go. I bought all white, and that impatient is not white. But this area is growing in nicely for a little shade area. And the one thing I wanted to talk about that I have been really surprised by is the purchase of my echinacea or coneflower that I got from Home Depot. I actually went back and bought 3 of them. I have not had one or a variety that rebloom. And this one I pruned back a few weeks ago, and it's pushing out quite a few more blooms. So even though these were a little bit on the pricey side, I'm glad I went and bought. I have a total of 3 of them. As soon as I figure out where I want to place them in the ground, I will have some echinacea that rebloom, which I didn't expect. I hope you enjoyed the tour that I gave you of my front yard landscape. And if you have any questions or comments, please drop me a note. I really appreciate all the communication that I'm getting from the gardening community. And I hope you have a great day and enjoy your garden if the weather permits. Bye-bye.